Most gardeners are constantly searching for the perfect soil amendment. They buy bags of compost, peat, vermiculite, and expensive soil conditioners, hoping their beds will suddenly become more productive. But here's the strange thing I've noticed after years of testing garden methods. One of the best soil building materials is something most people throw straight into the trash every single week. And that mistake quietly hurts gardens everywhere. Because when you throw this material away, you're literally discarding one of the richest sources of organic matter, nitrogen and microbial food your soil could get for free. Without enough organic matter feeding soil biology, beds slowly lose fertility, soil becomes compacted, water drains poorly or evaporates too quickly, plants grow weaker, yields drop, and gardeners end up buying more fertilizers to compensate for something their soil should already be doing naturally. When I started experimenting with this material in my own beds, I realized something important. Soil improvement isn't about adding more products, it's about feeding the ecosystem underground. One tool that really helped me understand what was actually happening beneath the surface is a 4-in-1 soil moisture meter. It measures soil moisture, pH, temperature, and sunlight intensity. A lot of gardeners just assume their soil is healthy because, well, plants are growing. But this meter quickly shows when the soil is drying out too fast or when the pH drifts outside the range that plants prefer. I'll leave the exact one I use in the description if you want to check it out. Because once I started measuring soil conditions while using this waste material, the improvements became obvious, and honestly, the results surprised even me. The material I'm talking about is something nearly every household produces: coffee grounds. Used coffee grounds are actually one of the most misunderstood soil resources available to gardeners. Some people believe they're too acidic, others think they attract pests, and many simply throw them away without realizing they contain nitrogen, organic carbon, and trace minerals that soil life just thrives on. In reality, used coffee grounds are close to neutral in pH once they've been brewed. That means they won't drastically acidify your soil the way many people assume. What they will do is feed microbes, and feeding microbes is the real secret to building productive soil. Most gardeners think nutrients alone determine plant health. Nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, that's the standard formula we hear about. But those nutrients don't move efficiently through soil without microbial activity. Bacteria and fungi break down organic matter, releasing nutrients in forms plants can absorb. Earthworms mix that organic matter deeper into the soil profile. Fungal networks move moisture and nutrients through microscopic channels. When soil biology is active, plants receive nutrients steadily instead of in sudden bursts. Coffee grounds help stimulate that activity. They contain nitrogen that microbes use as fuel, along with organic compounds that feed soil organisms. But the real benefit shows up over time. So, I started by testing coffee grounds in 2 raised beds growing tomatoes and peppers. One bed received regular additions of used grounds mixed into the top few inches of soil, while the other bed remained unchanged. Honestly, I wasn't expecting dramatic results right away, but within a few weeks I noticed the soil texture starting to change. The ground-amended bed stayed slightly darker and held moisture longer after watering. When I checked with the soil moisture meter, that bed consistently retained moisture a little longer than the control bed. That matters more than people realize. Stable soil moisture allows plant roots to grow deeper and reduces stress during hot weather, and over time that stability translates into stronger plants. One of the biggest problems in many gardens is soil compaction. Compacted soil limits oxygen flow, restricts root growth, and slows microbial activity, Organic materials help solve that problem by creating space between soil particles. Coffee grounds are particularly effective because they're fine enough to blend easily with soil but still contain enough organic structure to improve aggregation. As microbes break them down, they produce compounds that bind soil particles into stable clusters. Those clusters create tiny air pockets, and those pockets allow roots and microbes to breathe. After one season of adding coffee grounds regularly, the soil in my test bed became noticeably easier to work. Instead of forming hard clumps, it broke apart into crumbly dark aggregates. That's exactly what healthy garden soil should look like. Now, there is one mistake that causes problems when using coffee grounds, adding too much at once. Fresh piles of grounds can become compacted and temporarily repel water if applied too thickly. That can slow oxygen exchange in the soil. The key is moderation. I usually add a thin layer and mix it lightly into the top 2 or 3 inches of soil. Another method that works extremely well is adding grounds to compost piles before applying them to beds. Composting spreads the material evenly and prevents clumping. Either way, small consistent additions work far better than large dumps. And there's another interesting benefit I noticed during my tests. Earthworms love coffee grounds. Within just a few weeks of adding them regularly, worm activity in the soil increased noticeably. Worm tunnels improve drainage and help mix organic matter deeper into the soil profile. That kind of natural aeration makes soil healthier without the need for mechanical tilling. And, avoiding excessive tilling is one of the best ways to protect soil structure over the long term. Coffee grounds also help regulate moisture. Water management is, honestly, one of the most difficult aspects of gardening. Soils that drain too quickly require constant watering, while soils that hold too much water can suffocate roots. Organic matter helps balance those extremes. Coffee grounds act like these miniature sponges, absorbing moisture and slowly releasing it back into the soil. In my raised beds, this helped maintain more consistent moisture levels between watering cycles. And really, consistency is exactly what plant roots prefer. Sudden swings between wet and dry conditions stress plants and slow growth. Balanced soil moisture encourages steady development and stronger yields. One of the biggest lessons I've learned from years of gardening is that soil improvement is cumulative. Each season of adding organic matter really builds on the previous one. Microbial populations expand, soil structure improves, and water retention stabilizes. Coffee grounds in particular contribute to that long-term improvement because they feed soil life continuously. Coffee grounds aren't a miracle amendment on their own, but honestly, they're an excellent ingredient in a larger soil-building strategy. If you combine them with compost, mulch, and organic residues, soil fertility just begins increasing naturally. It's interesting. Gardeners often overlook simple solutions. Modern gardening culture, it tends to encourage buying all sorts of specialized products. There's always some new fertilizer, additive, or soil conditioner out there, each one promising better results. But honestly, soil ecosystems don't need complicated formulas. What they really need is organic matter and biological activity. Sometimes the most effective materials are just the ones people already have access to. Coffee grounds happen to be one of the easiest examples around. They're abundant, free, and packed with the compounds that soil organisms really thrive on. The challenge, though, is simply recognizing their value. Healthy gardens, they start with healthy soil, and healthy soil depends on feeding the organisms that live underground. When gardeners stop tossing out valuable organic materials and start returning them to the soil, the entire ecosystem begins to improve. Moisture stabilizes, microbial life increases, plants grow stronger and produce better harvests. Simple materials often outperform expensive inputs when they're used consistently and intelligently. If you enjoy learning practical soil building techniques and real garden experiments, make sure you subscribe to Farm Logic. And if you know another gardener who throws away their coffee grounds without realizing what they could do for the soil, share this video with them. Because sometimes the best thing you can add to your garden is the thing people usually throw away.